The game begins with Joel holding Sarah, crying after her unfortunate death. Tommy holding the revolver consoles his brother, who is now totally broken from the fact that Sarah's gone. The two brothers hear footsteps of soldiers rushing towards them since Tommy shot one of them in order to save Joel. Tommy suggests Joel to collect himself, and Joel, fully in shock, carries Sarah and runs away with Tommy. We could then have a scene which shows the entire city fully overridden with infected, burning buildings, military helicopters, planes flying over destroyed cities filled with overlapping screams of people as well as infected. This scene will be followed by the later events taking place.
Panic spread worldwide after a leaked report from the World Health Organization showed that the latest vaccination tests have failed.
Joel and Tommy are then shown resting in a particular place. Tommy searches for supplies and finds food, medical supplies, and also a bow and arrow. The camera pans to Joel, who is now in grief, just sitting there. Tommy hands Joel a shotgun he finds while searching the place. Joel asks Tommy for his revolver, and Tommy, in his focus for supplies, would hand the revolver to Joel. Then we see a very intense scene where Joel aims the gun to his head, and right as he is about to pull the trigger, Tommy jumps in to save Joel, deflecting the shot elsewhere, but the bullet does hit Joel's ear, skimming past him. Then we see Joel cry and the screen fades to black with music. The reason I decided to shape this scene in this particular way is to highlight how painful losing Sarah was to Joel, and it's also something which has been referenced to in the first game, giving the hint that Joel has already been through something similar to this.
Guess they took the easy way out, huh?
It ain't easy. For many, it was better than letting a clicker or a hunter do it for him. Trust me. It ain't easy.
So that ends chapter 1. Chapter 2 will take place a year later. The scene begins with Tommy walking into a house and the camera shifts focus towards Joel sitting by the table eating some food. Tommy pulls out certain ration cards which indicate that they have settled down into a group of survivors leading day to day, trying to build up a community. Joel, however, could be shown to have developed a lone wolf mindset where he is totally focused on himself and his brother. Tommy, on the other hand, is more focused on living in a community, following strength in numbers and whatnot. This polarity in the two brothers' mindset is something that this prequel could pick up in the beginning and then expand upon in the later parts of the game as well. Days pass by showcasing Joel and Tommy surviving but still at opposite sides. Joel takes on a lot of risky jobs, a major part of these jobs taking place outside the community. During the gameplay sections, an important aspect would be to show Joel becoming ruthless and very cold-hearted. The gameplay mechanics would keep changing as the player progresses through the story. There would then be a horde of infected which ends up attacking the community, and immediately Joel looks to secure himself as well as Tommy, but Tommy argues that they should head towards the entrance and help defend the place from the infected. The two of them split up due to this, and a huge combat sequence takes place, and there comes a moment when Tommy gets attacked by infected and one of Tommy's well-known people ends up leaving him in order to save themselves. Tommy gets attacked by the infected. Joel steps in and shoots the infected, saving Tommy. Joel is initially relieved that Tommy is safe but also angry at him for blindly trusting the others to save him. The two of them split up after an argument, and Joel immediately gathers his supplies and leaves the place. Here we will get to see a game dynamic which was seen in The Last of Us Part 2 as well, the switch between two main characters, but here it's going to be Joel and Tommy. This marks the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3 begins with the player getting to play as Tommy. We see Tommy heading towards a particular place due to hearing rumors of a group known as the Fireflies. Tommy's gameplay sections would heavily feature the use of a sniper rifle. The reason I chose this weapon is due to Tommy using it a lot in the second game, so this could set that point up as well. Then we get a flashback to a conversation Tommy had in the past with Joel about the Fireflies. We see Joel dismissing the idea by telling Tommy that it's not worth chasing a doomed mission. Tommy once again has a different opinion. Then jumping back to the present timeline, Tommy finally finds a Firefly checkpoint and he ends up joining them. We could get a few hours of gameplay there with Tommy. Then we switch to Joel. During Tommy's associations with the Fireflies, we see Joel surviving totally by himself, and he would suddenly get ambushed by a group of survivors who question Joel, and Joel is seen to be extremely vigilant and is careful not to speak too much. One of the survivors, seeming like the head of the group, steps forward, a woman who is revealed to be Tess. The survivors decide to take Joel to a quarantine zone located in Boston, which was close to where Joel was initially traveling. Joel gets checked for bites and then he enters another community. Tess immediately notices Joel's distant and careful nature. Then some time passes which showcases Joel and his growth. This section could also build and expand upon Tess and Joel's relationship. We then get a flashback to a time before the outbreak with Joel and Tommy supporting Sarah at her football game. We could get a football mini game as well and perhaps play as Sarah for this particular section of the game. The team wins and we as players get to see this photo get clicked in the moment. We see this great memory of Joel as one of his dreams. Then the scene would immediately cut to him holding Sarah and crying. The reason for this sudden shift from a happy memory to the tragedy of Sarah dying is to highlight Joel's state of mind. He is still in the deep trauma of losing his daughter, and then we get to see Joel wake up immediately with a shocked reaction. Joel and Tess then get ready to head out for checking an area for supplies, clearing out the infected as well. They pass through the QZ and suddenly Joel hears his name as a scream from a man who would be Tommy, who has traveled to see his brother. The two of them meet and talk. Joel gets to know that Tommy has joined the Fireflies, but he keeps that detail to himself. Even Tess gets to meet Tommy. Here another combat sequence takes place and we the players as Joel find out that Tommy has gotten a lot stronger and vigilant. The three of them return to the QZ and suddenly an explosion takes place at the gate, compromising the entrance. A huge combat sequence takes place. We get to know at the end of this that the group which caused the explosion as well as the raid were none other than the Fireflies. Tommy gets to know this too and Joel warns him that he should leave the Fireflies and settle there with him, but this again causes an argument between them and Tommy leaves immediately. Joel, left in that state of disbelief, finds Tess and then the screen fades to black with music, which will mark the end of chapter 3. Since the previous chapter ends up mainly focusing on Joel, chapter 4 begins with Tommy, whose current focus is on getting to a rumored survivors group in Jackson, Wyoming, and this journey would be a very difficult one. Players would have to face a lot of challenges in the form of infected, weather changes and humans as well. As Tommy gets closer to Jackson, we see a switch to Joel's side of the story. This shift will serve as the path for two important aspects. First is to showcase Joel's growth as a character and also expand upon his relationship with Tess, featuring a lot of dialogue between them as well. Then we switch to Tommy, where he finally has reached Jackson and meets Maria, his future wife. The game would then expand upon their relationship by showing the two of them along with other members of the Jackson community out on patrol to clear entire areas of infected, looking for supplies as well. This will serve as a good partial open world section which is left to explore by the players, something similar to what we saw in The Last of Us Part 2 and Uncharted Lost Legacy as well. We would then get a flashback to Tommy visiting Joel and Sarah's place back in Texas. We get to see the house full of memories in the form of important pictures, notebooks, and finally at the end of the flashback, we see Tommy take Joel and Sarah's photo and keeps it with him. He leaves the home, then the screen transitions to Joel and Tess talking to Marlene, and even Ellie gets introduced into the game. Then we see the screen fade into the ending with music. The entire story of The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 would play out later on if the story was a real one. So that's the end of the prequel story for The Last of Us, featuring Joel and Tommy's life before the events of The Last of Us Part 1. If I was writing this story, I of course am just a fan who's given his ideas for a prequel if it was ever to happen. I tried to include almost every detail that was shown about Joel and Tommy's relationship. While editing this video, I noticed that in my version of this prequel, we don't get to see Bill, who is an important character and has had history with Joel and Tess. So that's something I was not able to integrate into the story of this potential prequel. Even Tess as a game character is an integral part of this story, but I felt that she could have had a lot more importance, but I just couldn't find the right place for it in this particular storyline when I was writing it. So what do you guys think about this story prediction? I hope you enjoyed it and do let me know your thoughts down in the comments and what your potential story ideas are regarding The Last of Us prequel. So yeah, that's about it for today's video guys. Take care and I'll see you all in the next one.